Alright, in this video we need to talk about how to move files to our web server so that they're accessible to people online. And so I'm going to really quickly go over the workflow for how to work on a website on my computer and then how to move it up to a web server so that it's accessible. Now, we've talked about this before, but I'm working on my website. Okay, I've got it nicely organized. It's in a folder. I know which website I'm working on, and all of these files together are my website. So when I'm working locally, I can just drag that folder to my text editor and I can make changes. So I'm working on this, I save. Now I want to open this file in my browser to see what it's looking like. So I'm going to drag that file down to my web browser. So this is on my local computer. When I say local, I just mean my computer that I work on. Okay, so I'm working, I make changes, I save, I come here, I refresh. Okay, I get my website to the point where I want someone to be able to view it online. Now what we're going to do is we're going to open our FTP client and we're going to connect to our web server. When we connect to our web server, this acts just like a Finder window, right? Just like one of these guys. And it is a Finder window that opens onto another computer somewhere else, okay? What we care about here is our public HTML folder, and public HTML is basically where the server thinks that we store our web stuff, okay? So when we go to our domain name, what it does is it goes to my public HTML folder, and it finds a file called index.html, and that's what it gives to the person typing in my URL. I'm going to go ahead and delete all this, and we're going to pretend we're starting from scratch. If this is the first time you're doing this, you might have files in your public HTML folder that are just kind of placeholder files. You can delete those inside your public HTML folder. So quick note, when you're here, you don't want to mess with any of this. All we're doing is going into public HTML here. All right, so now what I have is on my local computer, I have the version of the website that I want people to be able to access. And all I'm going to do is grab all of these files. I'm not grabbing the folder that they're in, I'm just grabbing the files and I'm dragging them into public HTML, just like this was a Finder window. So now if I go to my URL, what it says is go to the public HTML folder here and give them the file called index.html. Okay, so I'm good because I've used relative links here. Everything is the same as it is on my computer. All right, let's say I keep working. I realize I made a mistake here. So I'm back on my local computer, my local version. I'm gonna save, I'm gonna come back. Here's my local version. I can tell because this isn't a web URL. This is like a address to a file on my computer. I'm gonna refresh. Okay, I can keep making changes to my website. I get it to the point where I'm saying, okay, this is the version that I want on my server. So now I'm gonna come back to my FTP client. I'm gonna go back to my public HTML folder. And let's take a second just to think about these two windows. So right now, these files have changed, okay? This is the good version of my website. These files have not changed. This is the old version, it's the bad version of my site. So I wanna replace these files on my server with these new files on my personal computer. So this is really simple. I'm gonna do is exactly the same thing. I'm gonna grab all of these files and I'm going to drag them here. It's going to say, hey, these files are already there. I'm going to say I want to overwrite them, so I want to replace them, and I'm going to continue. And the reason that I drag all my files here instead of just the ones that I made changes to is I don't want to have to keep track of what I changed. I just want to replace the old version of my site with the new version. So now if I refresh, I get the new version of my site. Okay, one last thing that you might run into. I might replace my files, I might go to my URL, I might refresh, and I might still be getting the old version of my site. And this can be frustrating. And what happens is sometimes your computer, if I refresh this page, it thinks, oh, you know, I got those files just a few minutes ago. I'm not gonna check for new files. I'm just gonna show you the old files. And so we wanna tell it not to do that. And the easiest way is to open up Inspector, come to Settings in Inspector, come down to advanced settings and make sure that disable HTTP cache is checked. You'll only have to do this once. Now, anytime I have the inspector open and I refresh, it's going to say never be lazy, never assume that you have the latest version, always go and get the latest version from the server. So that's just a way that you can make sure if you're running into a problem and you're frustrated and you're saying I keep refreshing and nothing changes, do that and it should take care of the problem. Okay, so that's it. Again, my process is I work locally. Okay, so I work on these files here in my text editor. I'm previewing them in my browser here. I'm getting to the site to a point that I am, it's final, I like it, it's good. And then I'm uploading it to my public HTML folder. And when I do that, I'm just overwriting all of my files so that this has the latest version from my computer.